Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Now, on this episode and this weekend, what we finally aim to do is tackle the dust collection ducting work I aim to run through the entire workshop. And to be honest, I've spent so much time thinking about this, planning it, staring at walls and ceilings for the past, I want to say, few months. Exactly where I'm going to run the ducting, how I'm going to run it, how I'm going to make it not seem and look so ugly. Because if you haven't noticed, the theme to this workshop is just a nice, aesthetically pleasing kind of place to hang out, really. So I've actually, and I'm not joking, no word of a lie, I've actually even dreamt about exactly how I'm going to run this ducting work and woken up and thought, oh, that could work, and then taken some notes down. So crazy, right? Anyway, so if you haven't seen some of the previous episodes, what I've done in episode 1 of this playlist is actually gone through and upgraded the CamVac itself. And I've actually increased the performance a little bit, which is cool. And in the second episode, what I've done is actually gone through and created the dust cyclone using a dust deputy. And the bucket in which all the dust collector extracts go, it's on a linear actuator that raises and falls based on a little remote, which is kind of cool. And yeah, Richmond Woodworks spin, I suppose. But on this episode, what I have is I have all the PVC piping ready to go, and I'll go through exactly what I have in a second. I have an understanding of where it's going to run exactly, and I might need to move some things around, but we'll see how we go, just how we go on piping and brackets and all that stuff. I've printed up, or 3D printed, a lot of brackets, blast gates, and everything, so I aim to also run through that. And I don't think I'm going to get time for it in this episode. And I'm also waiting on a few parts because I aim to automate some of the blast gates. So stick around for a future episode about exactly how I've done that. So the first thing I need to do is to start moving some stuff out of the workshop. And I also need to move a lot of that timber off the wall because it's actually in the way for me to actually mount that cyclone up on the wall and actually run a lot of the ducting work behind it. So I'm going to take all that timber. I'd love to put it outside, but the reality is in Melbourne in the last month, it's just been terrible weather. It's just been really frustrating. It'll rain for 30 minutes and it'll be sunny for an hour, and then it'll rain for 30 minutes and just go back and forth like that all day and all weekend. So I can't really leave anything outside. So I need to work out exactly what I'm going to do with that. And I've gone ahead and 3D printed a whole bunch of brackets and everything else I need to mount a lot of the pipe and ducting work up on the ceilings and the walls. And it's been a far cheaper exercise than actually buying the brackets themselves from Bunnings. Because each one of those brackets that hold up a 90mm pipe, for example, will be maybe $4, $5, maybe $6. And to 3D print it has only cost me about 50 cents. So winning on the 3D printer department, I think. So it's probably worth running you all through exactly what I'm going to be using for a lot of the ductwork itself. So the Dust Deputy itself comes with a 4/5 inch. So what that means is that natively on the Dust Deputy itself, it's a 5-inch massive opening, and it's far bigger than I need. And they also come with these little brackets which reduce it from 5-inch through to 4-inch. And what I've done is 3D printed some brackets that take it even further from that 4-inch down to a 90mm PVC pipe. And these PVC pipe are just your drainage water that you can find on the outside of your house. And they are super, super cheap. And a 3-meter length of this here in Australia, and buying it from Bunnings is like maybe $30 or $40 instead of buying dedicated dust collection PVC piping or that clear stuff you can buy, which is great, but it's a little bit too expensive for my liking. Now, what you also have to do is run a anti-static kit. Now, there's two schools of thought with those anti-static kits, because the idea is as you run dust through these things, it does build a lot of static up, right? And you can feel it when you put the back of your hand, the hairs on the back of your hand start standing up. Now, the theory is that if there's a spark or if there's something, that dust that just happens to be in a particle form sort of thing throughout the whole system can actually ignite and then explode, much like you have to remove the lint from your dryer because it can cause those explosions as well. Now, I've been digging and digging and digging. I can't actually find any evidence, and please add in the comments if you've found something or a video of actually it working in terms of exploding, but I haven't been able to find anything. But even still, I went out and bought an anti-static kit anyway, so I don't want to be the test case for this, because I quite like my workshop and I don't want it to explode. It's probably a good thing to aspire to, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to be using this 90mm PVC piping. Now, it's quite ugly, so I need to spray paint it and all that kind of stuff like that to make it fit in a little bit nice and neatly into the workshop. But I've been thinking over the past few months, and I've actually went out and bought some of this rectangular PVC piping. So this is typically used as an alternative to your box guttering, and you'll see it on the side of your house. You'll have a tin box gutter which gets cut into, you know, a series of kind of elbows and joints, and that's what runs the water off your roof and through to your drainage. But there's actually these PVC pipes now as well. Now this one specifically measures 100 by 65 millimeter, and you can also buy them in 100 by 50. So I deliberately bought the 100 by 65 because volume wise, they're very, very similar in terms of liters or square millimeters. They're very, very similar from 90mm to this box. And I think my theory is anyway, this painted and then up on the ceiling is going to look a little bit nicer than just a round tube. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm interested to see and hear your opinion in the comments below. What I've also had to go off and do is 3D print some brackets. So this is a 100 by 65 millimeter bracket, which converts this through to a 90mm adapter for the PVC pipe. So that took quite some time, just because, as you can see with this PVC piping, it's got these little rounded edges. So that took a long time for me to get that rounding exactly right. And I'm going to have a link to the 3D print file available below. And just in case you wanted to 3D print this at home, it's going to be freely available, and I'm going to have it up on printables or something like that anyway. But anyway, I've yet to upload it, so I'll add that in the comments and the description below a little bit later on. So as well as all that and all these little adapters I've been 3D printing, I've also 3D printed a bunch of brackets you'll see just here. And you can buy these, and you can buy brackets specifically for that square piping as well as 90mm piping, but they tend to be about $6 each for one of these things. And this thing to 3D print, it only cost me, I think, was about maybe 60 cents or 50 cents in materials, obviously minus the $2,500 3D printer. But slowly but surely that 3D printer's very, very slowly paying for itself. So I hope to eventually have it cost neutral, because I've saved money on other bits and pieces that I've printed. Now, because I'm using the CamVac, I can actually get away with using very narrow bend PVC piping, and this is your 90mm PVC bends. I also have some for the 100 by 65 PVC downpipes as well. But the idea is, between the CamVac and your traditional dust collector, because the CamVac is a high pressure and high velocity unit, as opposed to the dust collector, which is just a lot of volume, but it's a little bit slower. So every single bend you put into the system tends to slow things down. But because of the high pressure of a CamVac, just like a shop vac, it doesn't really matter too much with these tight bends. And Dennis from Hooked on Wood did a video a little while back, which I'll link down in the description. It was actually gone through and tested the theory around using the CamVac, around multiple bends and all that kind of stuff like that, and seeing what impact or lack of impact it actually has on the end result of the efficiency of the unit itself. So enough procrastinating. What I need to do is finish my coffee on my little Richmond Woodworks mug and get straight to work. So let's get to it. Wow, I am exhausted. I was up and down that ladder. I don't know how many times. I've lost count. And you'll probably notice that I ended up going with the 90mm PVC pipe just on that long wall. The square or the rectangle pipe, I thought it was going to look a little bit nicer, and it really didn't. So I ended up just going with the 90mm. And as you see, it's quite frustrating because those beams of the actual shed itself are really, really in the way, and have been in the way since I've made this thing. Anyway, so I've had to kind of work around it and stuff like that, as you've seen. And to be fair, there aren't that many attachments or fittings available for that rectangular PVC piping. There's a lot more stuff available for this 90mm, like Y, S, T junctions and all that stuff. And that's why ultimately I just went back to the 90mm PVC piping. I do have a use for that rectangular stuff, and I'm actually going to change the downpipes on my house because they're starting to rust. So tune in for another video of how to change your downpipes from metal to PVC. But all in all, the ducting's completely run. So far I've only hooked up my table saw, and that goes all the way through. There's probably about, I'll hazard a guess, maybe about 8 or 9 meters worth of PVC piping between the table saw and the actual dust collector itself. And you'll notice that I've got a little Y split here. So one side is going to go straight down to the miter saw itself, which really, really needs it, because this is not snow. This is all PVC dust, which is pretty cool. And the other side is actually going to go past the table saw, underneath the miter saw station itself, and come out. You'll probably notice I have this little gap here. If I just move this little video here, you'll probably notice I have this little gap just here. And the intention is to fill that gap with a little 50mm plug, and I'm going to use the hose that came with my vacuum, that Festool one, to plug straight into it, and I can use that to essentially clean up the floor. And I think it's going to look pretty cool, and it'll be a nice little attachment or thing to do with that little void. I've been kind of umming and ahhing what I'm going to be doing with it, and that's what I'm going to do with it. And amongst other little things as well, I have some plans for that. So next up, what I need to do is take all the PVC down, and I have to wait for a decent weekend because it's been raining and hailing actually a little bit today as well. And it's just not really good for me to take all the PVC down, take it outside and start painting it, because I want to paint it. I'm thinking maybe white, and it might blend in to the wall itself a little bit better, and it won't look like such an eyesore as it does now. But anyway, we'll see what that looks like. I might also paint it, I'm thinking the same color as this, just to make it stand out a little bit, industrial look kind of thing. I think I might do that. And also, once I paint it and let it dry, put it back together, I aim to put some gaffer tape around some of those seals. So I've got some black gaffer tape. Put that around some of those seals just to absolutely make sure that nothing is leaking out and I'm losing pressure. I also have to do the grounding, and I'm going to save that for another video, and I'll run through that in the future. But I think I'm going to call it done for this one. It's probably a little bit of a shorter one. I mean, really short compared to one of the previous videos at almost 40 minutes. This one's probably only going to be about 6 or 7 minutes long, but at least it's a little bit of an update from the workshop, and I'm not just sitting around watching TV. So it's better than that. Absolutely. Cool. Anyway, like, subscribe, all those good things. And I will see you all in the next one. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves, everyone. Bye.